would James lead some prayer. We ask for the wisdom to make good decisions, to speak with confidence and listen with compassion, and to work together to create a better way of life for the people of West Warwick. Amen. Mark, you the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Dennison?
Here.
Councilman Liccardi is absent. Councilman Messier?
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson?
Here.
Council President Godwin?
Here.
Ordinance declared. Oath of office, West Warwick Police K-9 map.
No, Mark can move
You don't get this excited when you're swearing in guys. I don't get it. Yes.
I was gonna say, that this many guys didn't show up during my swearing in, that's for sure.
Now, can you raise your right paw?
Oh, wrong one.
We'll
Wrong one.
do it
Yeah.
right.
Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully serve the members of the West Warwick Police Department and the West Warwick community, and that you will bring comfort, joy, and tail wags to those in need, and that you will offer unconditional love and a calming presence to all that you meet, and that you will sit, stay, and cuddle to the best of your ability, and that you will uphold the proud traditions of service and compassion?
He does. You guys want to come up and take their picture? Just come on up. Okay, follow direction back then.
West Warwick guy.
Watch it.
I didn't see it. You want to?
Yeah, who's home?
Oh, I got it.
I don't know where Ernie's going.
Mine.
I'll send it to him, thank you.
We'll make this official, even though we don't have our badge for you, it'll be in tomorrow. Mouse.
Still protected.
Mouse, come. Good girl.
We got it.
And mine is like scheduled.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Sit. Yeah, good, thank you guys. You don't mind, I'd like to say just a few brief words. First of all, thank you to the town council and town manager Mark Knott for supporting this undertaking. There are many individuals to thank for making this historic event possible, and at the risk of missing someone, I will do my best to make this short and to the point. First, I must thank Animal Control Officer Elsie Curtis. She was the first person to recognize something special in Mouse. Her efforts to bring Mouse back from the brink of starvation started this journey. Mouse quickly began to break out of her shell and get healthy under ACO Curtis's loving care. Sue Parker of Dynamic Dog Training and Paws from the Heart Pet Therapy also saw great potential in Mouse. She worked on Mouse's obedience and basic commands, which are absolutely necessary for a compassion therapy dog. Dr. Kim Nelson and the other amazing staff at Greenwich Valley Veterinary Clinic certainly made this day possible. Their compassion and care for Mouse is truly remarkable, but not necessarily surprising. They all immediately fell in love with her, and I also know that they think she is a pretty special dog who just happened upon us all at the perfect time for her and us. Thank you to the men and women of the West Warwick Police Department, as well as all of our other town employees for supporting this venture. Making sure Mouse was fed, walked, given her medicine, and well cared for was never viewed as a chore for any of you. Her frequent visits to Town Hall seem to be a very welcome event for Mouse and our Town Hall co-workers. Last and certainly not least, thank you to all of the local businesses such as Passion for Pets Grooming and Canine Bay Doggy Daycare and Aquatic Center, as well as all of the many citizens who have donated items and services for Mouse and our other animal shelter animals. Hundreds of people have commented, liked, and shared our department and shelter social media posts, which means that we are increasing the likelihood of finding loving forever homes for these truly deserving animals under our care. Through a collective effort of many dedicated and caring people, Mouse can now officially be recognized as Canine Mouse, the first compassion therapy dog in the history of the West Warwick Police Department. Thank you.
And Chief, I just want to say, your department, yourself and everyone else, and Mouse has put West Warwick on the map again, nothing but positive news, so. And I want to congratulate everybody who's taken on this challenge and task. And this is definitely one of the proud moments of being up here on the council, so good luck to you and Mouse, and the department and Mouse.
I appreciate that, and just echoes some things that I had said a while back. I'm in my 32nd year of being a member of the West Warwick Police Department, and I will say, without a doubt, this is one of the best things I've had the privilege of being part of. And again, I'll say it, I'm just a small part of this. It took a collective effort on so many people's behalf to actually make this this successful, and we look forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
You told Mouse it's 48 hours a week. Must attend every council meeting. Sometimes we need a dog up here too, to give us some therapy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, approval of the minutes from the June 3rd, 2025 town council meeting.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinances, second reading of ordinance 2025-3, amending chapter 11, motor vehicles and traffic, article 2, operations, section 47, motor vehicle restricted routes, and appendix C, traffic ordinances, St. Mary's.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, Al?
Had Jeff testify last week, and I guess it should just, everybody's in favor of it. I think the big thing was Ferrucci was in favor of it, and that was a major concern, so I'd ask passage.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Michael?
First reading of ordinance 2025-4, amending chapter 11, motor vehicles and traffic, article 2, operation, section 47, motor vehicles restricted routes, and appendix C, traffic ordinances, manor run.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, Al?
Before you move on, it is written wrong. It has the wrong date, just for the record. Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
No, the date is wrong.
It says August 16th of 2016.
No, that's the overall
that's the
ordinance,
old-
traffic
Oh,
ordinances. No, so that's
Oh,
okay.
oh,
Yeah, that refers back to the original code of ordinances.
yeah,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead, Al.
This was requested by the representative and then Jay, and there was several different versions of it. I think that I'd turn it over to Jay
Al,
because
can you pull that mic down just a little?
Mark, you turn up the volume of the people in the back can't hear.
I suggest that Jay pick this up because he and the major met out there and determined the measurements that you're seeing. So I let.
Yeah, I
Jay-
mean, I've got more calls about this specific ordinance than any in a long time. So, for those not familiar, where Manor Drive is where the West Warwick Manor is, so we're talking, with this side right here is
West side.
the westerly side is where the West Warwick Manor is. I feel like a couple of years back, we did put an ordinance, but me and Al couldn't find it. And at that time, the goal was, when you turn into West Warwick Manor, it was tough if there was cars parked there to turn in or out of there without potentially hitting a car. And I thought we had already, I mean, it was when Josh Barrett was on the board, and he had brought it up to us. I don't know if you remember that, but either way, we couldn't find it.
It never made it to the traffic. stop.
I don't have a problem with that side. The other side, initially, there was an ordinance brought forth to me that I just had an issue with it. It eliminated too many parking for, some people. I've got calls from people that live at the manor that have either family or friends come over, especially on bingo night, which is either Tuesday or Wednesday, and there's not enough parking. And also I know some people use the parking for businesses over there and also the bike path. My only concern with the ordinance brought forth is I think that it kind of goes too far on the easterly side. I know that on here, it looks like it says 69 feet.
According to Major
Yeah,
Ketchum.
yeah, and we did go out there and
Went out there and he measured, the original ordinance
it was
was,
120 feet.
was gonna be the whole street.
It was 120
basically.
feet, it got brought down to 69 feet. My personal opinion, and I did go out there with the major, I did go out there, talk to some of the residents in the area. I would only suggest that if we were to amend it to be the 20 feet on that side, that would be my suggestion. I don't know if any of you have been out there at all. That would be my suggestion. I know that some of the residents are here if they want to come up and speak before we.
Well, if I could, I do have concerns about this. My mother lives there. It's where I park. I went by there today, on my way to the post office. There was literally 2 cars on the north side of the street, 3 on the south, 1 was leaving. That's at 1 PM. My major concern is that it is a source of entertainment as far as bingo night goes, for a lot of people that don't live at the manor. And without those spots, they cannot attend bingo, and you're gonna be taking that away from a lot of people. And those are my concerns. I guess my questions are, other than being a little difficult to get in and out, has there been any traffic concerns as far as accidents? Have we witnessed accidents? Is there a security
Not to my
concern?
knowledge. The way this came about was a representative went to Major Ketchum.
Yeah.
And he suggested it. And the original suggestion was the whole length of the westerly side where the manor is, and to a certain point on the easterly side, which was across the street. When I contacted Jay had some severe problems with that. So initially, Jay and I were gonna go out there, then I got a call from Major Ketchum, who said that he and Jay had gone out and looked at it. And
And we did, and my goal
then
was.
Jay said to me, I wanna measure it. So this is what the ordinance says.
My goal was to try to, sorry.
It's whatever you want.
Yeah, my goal was to try to come to some kind of a compromise, and over there.
I could see if there was a sign saying no parking from here to corner, and it left a little bit of a buffer for an easier ingress and egress. Okay, then the way I see it, if we take this parking away, then there's only a few parking spots for visitors at the manor.
So so I had a conversation, with Jay and, Rep. Tom Norray. Rep. Tom Norray is the one who brought this to the traffic commission. Jay, and through all that, he's gotten, this is what's gonna be confusing here tonight, is he's gotten a letter of support from the manor, supporting this. So, that's, Rep. Norray has a letter from the manor. He's not here tonight because he's at the budget hearing at the.
But the letter could be here.
I get that. He was planning on being here tonight, but because they're doing the budget. So he's got a letter, and you're saying there's gonna be multiple members of the manor here.
Now, what if
Opposed
those
to-
letters
hold on,
from
hold on.
businesses surrounding?
Okay. So. At that point. I asked that the 2 of them get together and figure out what this ordinance is gonna look like. I don't know the full pocket situation there throughout the day, but according to people, witnesses, that all the way past Park here to the corner, all the way to the corner is being utilized by businesses and whatever it may be. Now, I don't know, I have not seen it, but I know there's probably going to be pictures provided and whatever else in the next meeting, on the second hearing. So I just want to make sure that we are making sure that the traffic commission did their job, which they did.
They did.
Came back with their,
They came back with a much lot longer, but pretty much the whole street. And then when I spoke with Jay, that changed. And that's when Jay said, let's take a look at it. My feeling is that I was not aware of this letter or pictures. And rather, if you're talking about the second hearing, I would suggest a continuance of this rather than going to a second hearing and amending what you passed tonight. I would just continue it and.
that's what I was getting at, was because I'm gonna listen to everybody here tonight. But I also want to make sure that the director of the housing authority is okay with that, because you're right, if people who attend the bingo and whatever have no place to park, then what happens there? And I'm not advocating for more parking, less parking, I just want to make sure that we pass this ordinance and the director says, oh, this is really not right. I want to make sure that he's aware and approves of this thing, so we can reach out to him.
I was just hoping to learn something that I didn't know, such as this is a major safety hazard. We've had X amount of crashes. I don't think that's the case.
As far as
Since I was not at the traffic commission meeting, if you just continue it, I can talk to
Okay.
the major, and what he did was, he said, here's an ordinance that we've agreed to, and I put it in language, then change it. And so I haven't done any studying, the script was a script on it, but I will meet with,
Well, there's been accidents around that area, because remember, we put that stop sign in
yeah,
to
Yes.
prevent some of those accidents.
Bicycle-
Yeah, but that was a bicycle accident, and
Yes.
probably, again, we know there's been accidents there,
Yes.
whether it's due to that corner, I don't know.
so I'll meet with,
Can you please stop yelling from the crowd? Thank you.
I'll meet with the major, and then I will submit a report to you in advance of the continuance, and
Again, my only concern, or not my only, but my largest concern is that other than the few visitor parking spots within the parking lot, everything is for the residents. Now, we could break the rules and go park in those spots, but that's not something we'd like to do. So when those visitor spots get filled up, the parking is left to the street. Can't park on Robert Street, that's not possible. So that's where I stand on that.
No, on the side closest to the manor, it's probably only about 40 feet from the street, I guess around 40 feet from the street to the entrance of the manor. You technically can't park 20 feet from the corner anyway. We could put a sign, we don't necessarily need an ordinance for 20 feet from the sign anyway. So on that side, I don't even have an objection with the entryway, because the entryway, it's really one parking spot on each side to turn, and it really isn't that huge of a deal. The other side, I think, will be a bigger issue if it's 69 feet. Because I don't think that's as big of a deal to turn in and out. And again, 20 feet over there, again, that's 20 feet that you don't really necessarily need a sign for anyway. And I didn't see this letter. This is the first I heard about the letter from the manor. I wish you would have had it.
And again, I'm gonna let everybody speak.
Yes.
And then we'll make a motion.
can you arrange for me to get a copy of the letter? And whatever,
Well, we all should
Yeah.
have that, I guess.
Totally agree.
Yes.
and then I'll meet with Major Ketchum and go from there, so I would not take action tonight, I thought at the beginning next week where you got more facts to it.
But I agree with David, we have many people here, we should hear from them tonight, so we don't have to do that again next time, yes.
Any public comment on this? If you want to come up, just state your name and address for the record, and you're free to speak at the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Brower. I live at 1014 Plainfield Pike in Coventry. This matter is an issue to me because I do work on that street. I have multiple photos here showing you that there is a no parking sign from here to corner. And again, with the bingo night, the streets are filled. I don't understand where you would like all these residents to park or all these people to park on bingo night. And when there's not bingo night, there are still multiple people parking on the street to go and see their loved ones, family members, etc. at Section 8 building, and or if they have an appointment with Section 8. The stop signs were put there for less accidents. There has not been an accident since the stop signs have been put there. And if the if the housing building updated their parking lot layout so that two vehicles, one can exit and one can enter at the same time, all of this aggravation would probably go away. Only one vehicle can pull in and another vehicle can pull out. Like you have to wait because of their layout,
Is there another exit on the exit? Because
you know?
I thought that was a one-way.
So there's a one-way this way and then there's an out this way, and that's it. But you can't pull in until the person pulls out.
Thank you. Just this fucking article, here, it's an issue. I mean,
Well,
so
that-
that's a,
That is, yeah, so there's a bigger issue throughout the entire downtown Arc area.
Kevin, if you want.
here.
State name and address.
Kevin Melancy, 69 Washington Street, Unit 1. So you guys all probably know me well. I've been in town for 17 or 18 years. This topic of, I don't want to get off subject because I know this is an agenda item, but I think there's a broader view that needs to be looked at in the village of Arctic specifically with parking. So we've had, again, I'm 17, I think my 17th tax return was filed this year. So dealing with different parking issues. And I think some of us have, collaboratively come together to help share businesses that are open during the day versus open at the night, help share parking spots. But there's a much broader problem with parking in Arctic. I want to just point out a few things. So I noticed this was an item on the agenda, not too specifically how all of a sudden there was, no parking signs being erected on this one particular street for whatever reason. I'm learning a little bit more about that manner causing issues or complaining about that issue, but you got no parking signs all over Arctic. And so I guess the question I would pose to the town council is, does the police department turn into a traffic daily enforcement bureau? Because that's what's going to happen. You got municipal lots, numerous municipal lots that are, according to state statute, being operated basically illegally in a sense. You have businesses using these lots as permanent fixtures of parking, which if you look up the state, building code of, compliance on municipal lots, they're being used for basically everyday employee parking, right? Now, I raised this issue when certain business in Arctic came up very collectively and very professionally, saying that parking is a major problem in Arctic. It's a global problem. It's a global problem throughout the entire village, the new developments that are coming in. And I feel like, I'm a little perplexed to feel like, well, we're gonna put signs up on a street when we don't enforce the existing signs that are there. We don't enforce the existing ordinance or state statutes that are involved with the municipal parking lots that we have. And maybe this needs to be a little bit more of a comprehensive study group to find more of an effective cooperative way to find a solution for the businesses and also for the residents of the manors. I'm certainly supportive of all those entities, but I think this is a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction just to ordinance ourselves into more parking signs when we have dozens of parking signs around the town that, it's no enforcement there. I could probably walk out of my building every day and see someone parked in front of a no parking sign, probably 5 days a week, anytime during the day. And I think that's something that's a little bit more of a broader issue versus just a one street issue or one building having an issue. I mean, we could come up to a council meeting, I think on a monthly basis and complain about the parking. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention and think
there just needs to be a little more thought process involved with this, and maybe a little bit more collective, kind of bringing the minds together with the local business, community leaders, and also the residents that live in town, or people that live on some of these main streets, to think about how we might be able to be more cooperatively working together versus trying to just kind of segment an ordinance to a street for, I don't really know why that would take place. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Barry. Any other public comment on this matter?
John Reed, 62 Avenue. Like Mark said, the place is used for a lot of different things. That's also one of your big things, polling spots. So when you have voting over there, are we gonna supersede the order to accommodate the voters? And also there's other functions there besides bingo, so forth and so on. You've got businesses there that have limited parking. And it's never been a big complaint that anybody's given before, except for that one accident that I know of. And one of the problems I have, it seems to have a little political overtone. He's the councilman there. How come it wasn't directed at him? It was directed to Norway. Last thing I knew, state reps.
In state reps' defense, he attends their meetings every month. And he intends to build, like he goes to a lot of functions at both White Towers and Robert Street. And it was addressed to him about the parking there by residents.
But if he goes to the functions, he must see the difficulty with the parking. Okay, I mean, it's your decision, but I mean, like Kevin said, there's so many places where you've got no parking signs, that people park, and there's no place to park. And now we're gonna create another zone at an elderly center that has multiple functions, including your own, when you have elections. We're gonna have to tell the police, ticket everybody that parks there to go vote. I don't think that'll go over too well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this item H2 to the July 8th meeting.
Second. Move second, continue to for further investigation and further research, so.
But wait, you said it's, next meeting, July 8th, but anybody else that wants to attend for that meeting, it's July 8th. Believe it's week, but I read.
Now, are there any residents from the manor here? Do you have any? I'm not gonna call you out on the spot, but obviously you didn't come up for the meetings, to the mic, so.
I'm not. Ron Couture, 6 Ottawa Street, West Warwick, but I live directly across from the manor.
Yep.
And I've been there 52 years. And I understand the businesses, they gotta do business, but the congestion over there, over the last, I'm gonna say 12, 14 years, has exploded. You know, and for an emergency at night, especially a bingo night, to get, the tower ladder down there, even an engine company is gonna be a safety issue, you know what I mean? So a remedy does have to come up over there. I mean, I feel for the tenants, I feel for the businesses, but the stop signs have helped, but they still come through every once in a while, doing 50 miles an hour sometimes. That's all I gotta say. It is a problem.
Thank you. All right, no other further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have.
You want opposed continuing?
I just want to wrap it tonight, but.
We couldn't anyway.
Well,
It might be a second meeting.
right. But I mean, as it stands.
3-1.
Liquor license.
Now,
With the continuance, after the word, I would leave the ordinance as it was submitted. And then once it's called up again, so we don't have to go through the advertising
Right.
process, then it can be amended for the second reading, so that it'll be the same as it was tonight.
Right, so we don't have to put it in.
But if we decided at the next meeting to amend it, it doesn't need to go back through the process. We
No,
decided
you
to
don't
amend
have to
something.
go through the process. That's why I recommended a continuance. So you'll have the same thing before you,
Correct.
the next
To
meeting,
decide what we want to do with it from that point.
and then you can change that one.
So this
Second reading.
particular ordinance as written has been continued to July 8th.
Yes.
No, just a quick question, I honestly don't know. Does that mean on July eighth, that's still the first reading?
First reading, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Al.
Thanks, Al.
License. Town Council acting as a liquor commission. Request from 99 Fletcher Dose LLC doing business as Joyous Liquors for a Class A liquor license for premises located at 90 West Warwick Avenue.
Well, before I move it, I have a couple of questions, so I don't know if what's
So we
proper
so we
for,
can talk about it.
can I move the license?
Second.
Members of the council, under Rhode Island General Law 3519, transfer or relocation of license, it clearly states in all cases of transfer, as which this is of license, the indebtedness of the licensee incurred in the operation of the licensed premises shall be paid to or released by an objecting creditor before the issuing body permits the transfer. In cases of dispute as to the amount of the indebtedness, the issuing body may, in its discretion, permit the transfer upon statement of the licensee under oath that the claim of indebtedness is disputed and that the statement of dispute is not interposed, for the purpose of inducing transfer of the license. In this instance, we have received 3 notifications from 2 attorneys and 1 representative of McLaughlin and Rand. The total debt outstanding as of today that has not been paid is $388,776.39. In the past, when the dollar amount has not been that substantial, this council has allowed the license to be transferred. However, everything's held in abeyance until the clerk gets notification that the debt has been paid in full. In this particular instance, due to the fact that it is $388,000, I would strongly suggest that the council either consider rejecting the transfer or continuing it to give the proprietor more time to take care of his creditors.
Did we have the third one? I saw 2.
There was one from Greg Mancini representing two individual companies, Mancini Beverage for $167,000, Southern Glazers.
That one.
That
Okay.
came in, I believe, today.
Okay.
The 2 that you saw would have been 2 from Attorney Paul Pisano,
Yes.
roughly about $46,000. And then there was one from Denise Silva from McLaughlin Moran,
Yes.
that's at $44,000.
Sir? My name is Carlos Santiago from 235 Pleasant Street in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. We, the managing member for Joy House, we were notified of the debt. It will be taken care of at the closing time, which will be July 21st.
Then my suggestion is that once it's been paid and everything's been verified by the clerk and confirmed, and that's when the license should be acted upon.
So I would make a motion to continue. That would be the first meeting in August. Thank you.
We only have 1 meeting in August. What's the date of that?
August 12th.
12, right, yeah.
So, motion to
Continue to August 12th.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Business licenses.
Make a motion to approve business licenses J 1 through 43.
Second.
Myself, yes.
Also mentioned, I'm gonna recuse himself. Any discussion on these licenses? Any public discussion on these licenses? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All the licenses have been approved is amplifier loudspeaker for St. Anthony's. Same thing for New England Frozen Lemonade, St. Anthony's Church's raffle, St. Anthony's Church's Class F1 liquor license. The parade license. Fry bread, Indigence, Fusion for victual license. All Sunday and holiday sales licenses. have been approved.
Appointments and resignation. Request from Justin Cucci for reappointment to the zoning board for term to expire July 2030.
Move the appointment, reappointment.
Second. Moving second.
I don't know whether I'm supposed to speak or not,
Okay.
but I would like to say that he's a great member.
I've worked with Justin. He's always kept me abreast of anything going on in my area. Great young individual who's been on there for 6 years now. Maybe a little longer. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Very good boy.
So. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
Request from Tim Sullivan for reappointment to the zoning board of review for term to expire July 2030.
Move the reappointment.
Second. Moving second, Tim, another great guy.
The same, like to keep him on.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
Request from James Sullivan for reappointment to Patuxent River Authority for term ending June 30th, 2020.
Move the reappointment.
Second. Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
New business, approval of payments to 2025 West Warwick High School scholarship recipients.
Move approval of the payments.
Second. Moving second, discussion?
That's actually Jen.
We do this every year. We give a scholarship on behalf of the town of West Warwick Town Council. So
They were actually awarded at
Alright.
senior night, and I think this is just releasing the money.
this is for Kristen's documentation.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Cancellation of taxes in the amount of $839.40 is requested by the taxes.
Move the cancellation of taxes.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing the sale of a Pierce 85-foot tower ladder truck in the amount of $60,000 to the Rhode Island Fire Academy.
For the resolution.
Second. Moving second, chief. Sounds cheap.
Yeah, it does sound cheap, but we paid 65,000 for it 3 years ago,
You made 85, huh?
so.
Gotta make a profit, chief.
So I think it's a fair price. I did reach out to the national sales, who said that we would be able to get about what we paid for it. We got a very good deal when we bought it. This is a good fit. I think it's an appropriate deal.
Used for training.
It will be used at the fire academy for training.
Any other comment? Any question for the chief? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, chief.
Consideration of River Point soccer field conditions and improvements.
It's just discussion.
So I just want to quickly, this was brought to my attention by some of the parents, with children that play down there. We all received the email today, I think, right from the West Warwick Soccer Association. Just wanted to they want some clarification that it was not the soccer association that's bringing it. So the parents, and the members of the soccer association were not able to attend tonight. They weren't aware of the agenda item, so I just wanted to
Thank you.
preface it with that.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Megan Valentine. I live at 15 Sycamore Drive. I am a resident of Ward 5. I'm also a parent, a PTA board member, a community volunteer, and supporter of youth sports. In the fall of 2022, inspired by the wonderful things we had heard about the West Warwick Soccer Association, we enrolled my son in the program. Thanks to the dedication and patience of some truly exceptional coaches, we have had the absolute joy of watching him grow, not only into a skilled player, but also into a supportive and dependable teammate. The West Warwick Soccer Association is a cherished program that has been a vital part of our community for over 40 years. The coaches display a strong passion to teach and mentor our children to be exceptional human beings and positive role models in our community. I am here today to raise serious concerns over the current conditions of our local soccer fields at River Point Park. These conditions pose a risk not only to players, but also to families and visitors who use these facilities regularly. I hope as the town council, you have had the opportunity to visit this park. But if you haven't, on one side, we have a well manicured and beautifully maintained baseball and softball fields, while on the other side, we have soccer fields on what used to be a waste yard. The main concern currently is that the fields are extremely uneven, which causes huge risk to our children and community members. If you take one walk through our fields, you will likely find shards of glass throughout. Before practices and games, you will find coaches and parents inspecting the grounds to ensure glass has not risen up from the depths of the ground from a recent rainstorm. As a concerned parent, I don't claim to have all the answers, and I certainly do not have expertise in field maintenance. But what I'm asking for is a genuine, good faith effort from the town to improve the conditions of our fields. I would also like for you to keep in mind, the longer we delay action on improving these fields, the greater the risk that the West Warwick Soccer Association will lose players to competing programs like Warwick Firefighters, CLCF, and other club teams. Not only that, but it is widely acknowledged that fostering early social connections among children who will attend school together is extremely beneficial, particularly in a community where the middle school has documented history of persistent bullying and significant behavioral challenges. Programs like West Warwick Soccer Association are more than just sports. They are a powerful way to build unity, character, and connection amongst our children. Youth sports can help transform the culture of our schools from the ground up. With the popularity of soccer on the rise and the strong sense of community West Warwick has to offer, our children should be able to forge long-lasting relationships on soccer fields that they can be proud of. Tonight, I stand before you and respectfully ask the following. How can the town prioritize the allocation of funds for immediate repairs and long-term maintenance? Number 2, is there an interim solution for safer grounds that our children can play on while these fields get fixed? What are our options? Recently, my son and I went to the fields behind the high school. They don't appear to be being used, but they are beautiful. Why can't we have the kids play there until the soccer fields are fixed? How can we ensure that Wakefield Hills, which is used to play our competitive games, is maintained and mowed on a frequent basis? Our children and families deserve a safe place to play and enjoy the sport they love, while receiving the mentorship from these coaches that they may not be receiving at home. A safer field benefits not just the teams, but the entire community. Thank you for your time and for everything you do to support our town's families.
Thank you. I know personally, I know Councilman Mess, Charlie, myself, we were a coach down there.
No, but my kids played in the.
So I know we coached there ourselves. It's been an ongoing thing. We have looked into it year over year, whether it was this town manager or Fred Preston was our town manager last time we talked about it. Sometimes, and not this board, but the previous boards, don't want to leave that field. They don't even want to leave it for a year. Our former Parks and Rec director part-time was Ray Beatty. He offered to try to level the field and do what he could at the time when we had some opportunities come our way, some volunteers with construction equipment and all that offered to do it. At that time, the soccer association, not this board, I just want to make that clear. But at that time, they said, no, we don't want you to touch it. We don't want to move. And we don't want to move kids of all different age groups all over the town. We looked at the fields at the high school temporarily. I know sometimes they use the football field, some divisions. We have looked all around, but I will say the last expense that they gave us was roughly around 7 million, maybe 6, 7.
We had, our initial one was maybe around $500,000. And the high end, I think, was 6 and change to do it right. I think the $500,000 was to show up and put some dirt on it, but anything we do there, once a shovel hits the ground, it triggers new DEM regulations, which brings us to the 6 million. So the low ball estimate is sort of unfair. And obviously when we had the ARPA funds, that would have eaten up all of it. it's been a project that's been on our radar on a lot of different ways. I know the new board would consider, and I spoke to the school department who manages the fields behind Deering and maintains and coordinates Wakefield Hills. That's outside of our Parks and Recs control, and they're willing to entertain and talk about options as far as scheduling, should we be able to make some things happen there. Obviously, our team is always looking for grant funding to help supplement that, with the understanding that it really needs a significantly well-engineered and planned attack, which just hasn't come to fruition yet, but has been a priority as we made recreation a priority for the last 3.5, 4 years.
And we understand, even from when doing the baseball, some baseball fields over the soccer field was a consideration. I know Mark was looking at how we can get it even lit, whatever else we could do, right? And I get it. Just sometimes we're a little strapped and we can't. $7 million, I think we're better off buying another whole piece of property and building,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
a mini Tidewater Stadium, or if we
Right.
had to.
And
Yeah.
$7 million, not knowing what happens
What-
once you dig down there into
Absolutely.
EM, so that's a very scary
Yeah,
project to
no, I
undertake.
get it, but I just think that there needs to be a plan B then. If we can't redo River Point, then we need to move the children to another facility
And
that's safer for them.
I think I'd want to put a little bit on the board too, the soccer.
I agree.
And, you know, if they want to sit down with our Parks and Rec director and our town manager and have some discussion on options, because don't disagree with you at all on the condition over there. It's been that way, and you say just as, actually, McCarthy and, Ray Silver were built on, the dump too. I know when I was over in Ray Silver as the president, there was a kid in the outfield, who was like on a surfboard, and he says, "Coach, what the heck is going on?" We went out there with a shovel and we poked a hole, and water just started pushing up. It was in a mattress, because that's the mattress type.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand,
Yeah.
and I've been on the soccer field many years,
Mhm.
so it's very on.
No, we definitely hear you, and thank you for a very thoughtful and well
Yeah, thank you so
presented.
much.
We also, and Jay mentioned it quickly, we did receive a letter late this afternoon from the Soccer Association, or a member of the executive board. So I think if we all work together, we might be able to come up with some solution.
Yeah, and they called, I mean, Christina Card called me too, and well, when you messaged me, I just, it was my ignorance, I just thought you were part of the soccer club when you messaged me, so I wasn't trying to put something without
No,
including
that's
that in
okay.
there. So I did have a lengthy conversation with Christina after, and you have every right to be able to have it, as parents, to come up here and speak as well, so
Yeah,
again, I just wanted to.
So we broached the subject, and the last paragraph in that letter says, again, as we ask that if the discussion becomes specific to use of fields, repairs of fields, or anything impacting the players in league, that the item be put on a future meeting agenda. And I would actually suggest the group get together before
And I know
that.
that, and when, I know.
I would appreciate that as well, and they did know about the meeting early last week.
Right, well, that's when they called me, but it was before it was put on the, I think it might have been before when they started on the agenda, but I know also, she did stress that like, if there's times where there's weather, or they feel like there's a safety, they do cancel the games.
Yeah, no, this
and
isn't,
there
I'm not
is-
pointing fingers at anyone.
And there is an open project for, I think it's URI. And I'm not sure
Air
of the
Turf
full
Management.
project, but I know it's on the outer banks of soccer. Marilyn brought that to my attention, so if you wanna reach out to her and see what's going on with that, what's their intentions, or how far they're coming into the field.
Right, it was more the river walk, but by doing that, it triggered a relationship,
Right.
for stormwater runoff, which is, Central Falls did a significant project where they have, turf field, as in their new complex. So I think it was like a $12 million project on the site of a former factory. But it has a lot of the same things that we have to deal with: potential contamination, storm runoff, and the opportunity. And the hard part is try to aligning probably 4 or 5 potential funding sources to come together at the same time, or at least in the proper order, to develop a realistic plan to address things as they need to be to end up with a nice finished product. But I agree, an alternative site might be better, and that might be better used for something else.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of contract with left field for oversight of Payne Street School Building Committee project.
Did we see?
School committee update. School
Oh,
building.
gosh, I'm so sorry. School Building Committee update.
They'll all blend together. So our next school building committee meeting is on July 23rd. That's also the date that we plan on submitting the answers to our stage 2 submission. So that will be at the front of the docket to be considered by the Department of Education. That the answers that they were seeking, the information they were seeking was not significant or detrimental, so we anticipate approval there. Again, in the next 2 agenda items, we're seeking to engage left field and Tecton to continue their hard work with the stage 3 and 4 development for the Payne Street facility. We'll be seeking some funding options to do that in advance of seeking a bond for the projects in their entirety. So that's kind of the timetable for what we have coming up related to the school building committee.
Any questions for Mom?
I think I have some questions. I'm not sure. I'll give it a shot here. Are we putting the cart before the horse, so to speak, in signing a contract with architects and others before we approve funding?
They're specifically, their contracts that we're talking about is strictly for the Payne Street project, which I think the ideal situation is we may want to move forward with that regardless of the bond. That's step number 1, whether the bond comes to fruition, which we hope it does because it's 68% reimbursement. This item, when the bond, it's still going to be approved, whether the bond happens or not, if I can say that correctly. It'll get 68% once the project is approved from RIDE. So if we go see a different type of temporary funding source now, so we can get that project going, and if we say the town is going to cover that ourselves from our own savings, if you will, or through a loan from a local establishment, we'll still get 68% back. But I think we collectively feel on the school building committee that we shouldn't delay until the fall. We can have our planning for Payne Street done, which is where we need to get out of the batter's box in order to relocate some of the folks at Macy Quinn, which will allow us to do some work there, which will allow us to get the 5th grade out of the middle school, which is the most important thing. So Payne Street, the 2 contracts are strictly just engagements for Payne Street development.
It's the smaller of the.
Which could or could not be approved by us. I mean, that's $5 million,
Well,
68%
we've
of that.
We've made them sharpen their pencils. It's not fine.
And these are things that I
Yeah,
don't know about.
no, I know, and again,
The way the timing falls, if we were not to extend the contracts we currently have, it would put the project off into a different time frame and actually jeopardize that 68%. So that's one of the things that we're talking about. So they need to do their design work. And the truth is, RIDE may come back with a no in September when they come back, but we need to keep the wheels moving if we want to eventually.
So,
There are many places it could be a no doubt about
so I
that.
suppose my real question then is, what's the cost of keeping the wheels moving here by signing these contracts? What are we committing to?
so this
Whether
is
the
strictly,
project goes
this is
through or not.
strictly pay on street, right?
Right.
So, which, I'm just gonna say 4 million to round it off, maybe
Okay.
easy numbers, right? If we had to go for funding, say, Centerville Bank, $4 million to stop this project, to help get the 5th graders back out of the middle school and back into the elementary school, which is our number 1 goal.
Right.
We would still get 68% of that back without the voters' approval for the bond, because we took a loan. So we would get a little over $3 million of that back.
Well,
If
actually,
you go that
I'm sorry, it's about 2.8 million, it'd be 68%. I don't have one.
But we haven't discussed that route at all, as far as I can remember. That was always something that was gonna be wrapped into a larger bond. There was a certain amount of projects which ranged from 51 to 65, I believe it was, 71, or 55 to 71. And this is the first I'm hearing that we're considering paying for this in a different way.
Ultimately, no. Get it started, yes. So getting the funding to get started and then pay that loan off with the bonding, if the bonding's approved. Now, if the bonding's not approved, okay, we're not gonna move forward with the high school project, the Maisie Quinn project, but we still have to move forward with Payon Street.
So what is the purpose of Payon Street if the others don't get approved? Because the fifth graders, reworking Payon Street is not gonna get fifth graders out of the schools, out of the middle school, unless all the other projects come to fruition.
No, that's not true.
Not all, but you know what I mean, the Maisie Quinn.
So there will be space in Maisie Quinn, because Payon, the
The ALP one.
yes, the alternative learning program in Maisie Quinn
Mhm.
currently will move to Payon Street.
Which is over 100 students, by the way, because we all heard rumors there were like 14 students, 15 students.
Right.
There's over 100 students.
So we can't fit 100 in Payon Street, right?
And I guess
They
it's
can?
about-
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, they had more than that. The daycare was about 100 and something.
All right, I seem to not be understanding this then, because if we complete the project on Payon Street,
Mhm.
that frees up room at Maisie Quinn.
Correct.
What if that project is not approved? Does that mean we still have the room to put these students?
There's space at Maisie Quinn, it would just not be updated or renovated.
Right.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that makes it a little more clear.
Yeah.
So Payon Street is key,
Correct.
and if that is done, then no matter what, we're gonna get the fifth graders out of the middle school.
Yeah, well, I wish, Karen could have been here tonight, couldn't be here tonight.
Right, I got
to talk
her.
about.
She sent us an email
Right.
explaining that, and she apologized.
No, I understand.
And I'm sure if there's, again, so you got a chance to read the email.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, that's why we're discussing this for
Yes,
better
we are.
understanding.
Absolutely. So, and please, as the lead here, the cost associated with it, I think the left field number is $46,100.
$6,140. And then
The Tecton number
Tecton
is,
obviously built into, it has several different tasks.
correct,
So the total program for the 4 tasks comes to $294,600. Obviously, in my opinion, and I defer to legal counsel, if something adverse happens, we need to continue with like task 1, schematic design, and task 2, design development. That's probably gonna take us the rest of the summer to do that. By the time we're said and done, we're just trying to keep the ball rolling. So when the bond does come, we can formally pull the trigger on things that are obviously much bigger. But
and
there's
These
some
tasks- these tasks
timetables,
Also required by right.
correct?
correct. These are to get us through the right process. And if the bond doesn't pass, we have schematics, we have plans, and then we have to figure out what we do to move forward to make sure and ensure that we have. Yes.
Right, I just don't wanna get
Yes.
the town in a position where we've laid out so much in expenses to stay within the process. That we're at, we're this far now, we can't
No,
look back.
so and it's substantial in that it's about $350,000 on the agenda tonight. But again, we do walk away with plans, schematics, and then figuring out how we go about making these improvements, which has become pretty clear that the 5th grade, and Mrs. Valentine made it clear that we have some issues at the middle school.
Mhm.
So she
There's no doubt.
supports that,
There's no
yes.
doubt.
I don't think there's not a parent in West Warwick that does not support the 5th grade getting out of it.
Yeah, that is number one priority.
If that's the only thing we get to do, then that's the only thing we get to do. but we keep it going so we don't miss the next deadline with RIDE and potentially forfeit the reimbursements that we could have. So I agree, it seems a little wonky,
It's a
and we
little-
don't even have an answer from RIDE yet.
Right,
You
I'm
know,
just
no,
being
no,
honest,
Mark,
this
that's-
is a tremendous amount of money.
And that's what.
When we
well,
just, I don't wanna, I
So
don't wanna say
if
fought
a-
over a budget, but fought to get a budget that we all were satisfied with. To all of a
And,
sudden.
and I
lay
get
out.
that, and we have brought this concern to everybody on the committee.
And that's why I look to you two, because
Pay
you're part of
on,
this.
pay on
this-
street, let's just say you put it out to the voters, and they say no to the bond. Okay? One thing that we think we could afford is the construction at Payon Street over a 20-year period, because you're going to get 68% of it back through the next 20 years, so ultimately, when you get that money back, our payment back to that is so small.
Correct.
Where on a budget level, yes, it's still gonna cost us something, but at least if the bond goes down, we have something in work, so Payon Street. And then we also follow the rules of Payon Street where it's either used for recreation or children or educational, so as it was donated to the town back then.
I'm just gonna be honest and say, I understand we need to stay in this process and see this through and let the ultimately taxpayers decide what amount of this overall project we wanna take on. But it's just one of those things that it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel comfortable. We're laying out $300,000 plus.
We've already laid out,
I
the
know,
town has already laid
over
out.
$1 million.
Just about $1 million.
Right.
That money is reimbursable through the bond and or other financing mechanisms, so that can and will come back to us as we move along with the project if it does go forward. So there are some, but that's all part of the process of looking at what we can do, having RIDE say yes or no, which they have not done yet, so we're still answering their questions. It is a bit of a leap of faith, there's no doubt.
It doesn't make the heart feel good.
Trust me, you gotta hear some, I mean, the meetings are open to the public, anybody wants to come. And there's been residents who have showed up and listened and, you know, they understand it, and like I just said, there isn't one resident that doesn't support getting, that wants to support getting the fifth graders out of the middle school, and the superintendent is very supportive of that, and that was our number one goal right from the beginning, obviously, to enhance Maisie Quinn and enhance our high school with 7 more rooms.
Science,
Whatever it is.
to
To
get
help.
the science labs up to where they need to be. to
So,
standard, yes.
you know, and we understand, trust me, none of us want to sit here and say, hey, we've gotta do this, we've gotta do that, we gotta do this, we've gotta spend $65 million. I never thought in my young years, spending $65 million and sitting here signing a piece of paper saying I just spent $65 million is crazy, but in a town level, definitely, I mean, we have grown, we're gonna continue growing, there's still a lot of projects in the hopper. And our third grade class right now is the largest third grade class that I've ever seen. It's,
A little bit of anomaly where
It's
there's
a little-
one
it's a
spike,
bump, yes.
I call that the COVID years from, so.
not quite
It's
there.
called what you want.
Right
but yes,
before the
yes,
COVID years,
yes,
but-
exactly.
But again, it's third graders. You know, my neighbors have kindergartners to second grade, I think, right now, and they're highly supportive of this, and I'm like, well, I tell them, I said, well, it's gonna be a little tax increase, and they're like, we don't care, whatever you gotta do, you know, hopefully, if the bond passes, we're good, we'll be good, and trust me, Will Cologne, Mary Beth, myself, Mark, everybody who's involved is penny pinching. Like when the engineers are coming back saying, we want 65 million, we're like, no, we wanna get down to 55. We wanna get as close as we can. You know, when they came back with 125 million at one time. We laughed at them and said, shut it down, because we're never gonna get 125 million.
Right.
We can't afford 125 million. So we're down to, I think, a couple of different scenarios. And I think one's like 60, and keep me honest, there's 63, 65 to 73 million.
71 is the cap that the state house passed for us, so, that's what the, enabling legislation says. That would be the high end,
And that would take care of all the projects that were laid out by TechCom.
that's
And a
correct.
bunch of other little projects too.
Yes.
Elevator in Horgan School, if anybody knows Horgan School? Never had an elevator, imagine.
And it's not compliant right now.
Correct.
ADA compliant, which, again, these are all the things, but it just has that feeling like when you're sitting at the blackjack table and, oh, just a little bit more, I'll see the payoff.
I've never actually sat at the blackjack table, so I can't help you on that, but my guess is if you get another king, you're out. Is that a, yes?
It's just that, you know, if something should
Very
happen,
best
don't
Perhaps,
these that.
yeah.
And again, it's just, it seems like we just, and it's a reality, we need to
You have to do the pre-work.
pony up to stay in the game.
That's it, what it amounts to. And if there is some comfort in, we've asked, Mario Bueno from, the ride. He has actually come to our meetings to give us some, and he is highly supportive of West Warwick and thinks West Warwick is long overdue in doing some of this work. So there's some sense of comfort there, but we don't have final guesses. So it's a little bit of a, but we have Pay on Street. We can make good use of Pay on Street. It would be a better experience for the alternative learning program. And then it does free up space at Maisie Quinn. And even if Maisie Quinn, you'd have to, there are different standards for different grade levels. Some of the mandates that Karen talked about, you know, all the mandates that are not funded. But we're hoping that we're going in the right direction. And you're right, it's a little money we have to put up front to get in the game. With the idea that we hopefully we'll get it back. Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah, any other questions? No, thank you for asking. I mean,
Yes.
that's what we're here for. And, you know, we have to be more clarifying now what and we can do maybe a little better.
Well, I think there's actually, can slap me later if this isn't true, but I think we've talked about having a joint meeting with the school committee to discuss these things. Whether over the summer is the right time to do it or not, I'm not sure, but to actually, maybe once we hear from RIDE or understand what other questions they might have, so.
The other thing I see is on questions, you know, clarification, the wording and how we get out there and how we explain it. And, you know, we talked about 4x8 billboards and what this is gonna get you, what this is gonna get you. We've talked, we're getting down to that and we're, you know, we're gonna eventually.
We've also had bond council,
There's a lot of concerns when you look at some of the other communities that have been building these schools where I'll just use a round number, this is gonna be 100 million. And then next thing you know, before the project starts, they have to go back to the taxpayers. No, it's gonna be 130 million.
and that's because they did not get the design done before they actually knew what the number was be. We've made it clear, we're gonna have a finite number, and you're gonna have to build to that if we get to that point. So that,
So.
trust me, I'm not on Christmas card lists in that group. That's
No,
a,
no, thanks,
yes,
okay. I was gonna say, I
yes,
think-
yes, yeah. Yes.
Oh, my question's already looked a couple of times,
Yeah.
but. As Mary Beth just said, could you imagine us sitting up here saying, yeah, it's gonna cost us, let's go put a school up, it's gonna cost us around 100 million, let's put that out to go. And then all of a sudden we bring in Tecton and these guys and they say, no, it's 150.
And
That's what
what's
we
happening.
avoid.
But those other communities, did they do the same thing? They didn't,
No,
they weren't working.
They
one
sort of
ahead
went
of the
the other
project?
way, and maybe
Somebody had to
probably
give them
because
that
of.
number though, that they ultimately failed on.
Can't speak for that one.
Actually,
Right, right.
And trust me, I brought up the city of Warwick numerous times in that meeting. It's the last thing I wanna do, Mary Beth wants to do, or anybody on that board wants to
Go
do.
back.
Is not even go back, just be wrong. We, you know, and they have built-in buffers, per se. And, you know, when they came back with 5 million on Parent Street, I said, no way. But then when you sit there and listen to what, this air conditioner that you're hearing right now, I learned that you may not be able to, you can't have that in school. It's gotta be almost silent. So it costs more money to do that. Because to me, I know I walked Parent Street. Everything looked fairly new as far as the AC units went, but it was good for a daycare because it's not run by RIDE. But it's not good enough for a school. The ductwork is not good enough for a school because of the whistle and the sound it makes. So those are things, but working with Chris Mann, yeah, it's too loud. So Chris Mann was explaining all this to us, but with his due diligence and everything else, they came back with about 3.5. And I said, well, $1.5 million is a lot of money, thank you. You know, I can agree with that, you know, because of, you know, parking lot, everything else, flooring, roofing,
Right.
whatever it may be, but to make that a full educational piece, it was a little more workable at 3.5 million, 5 million. Because we're pushing back, and we're gonna continue pushing. And again, anybody's invited to these meetings, you can sit there and listen, and open to the public, and they're advertised.
Thank you.
It's a little scary, no doubt
It's
about it.
definitely scary.
Yeah.
So approval of contract with Wetfield for oversight and pay on streets for building committee.
Yes, actually, there were new resolutions.
Right, so I amended the resolution, the funding source on the resolutions was I sent to Sarah earlier today. The change is the funding source will be loan proceeds or the anticipated bond proceeds for these items. On both.
Yeah, the original resolutions talked about coming from school surplus. And as we've heard, there's really not, that's not feasible. So the new resolution was sent out earlier today with that language, and it's just a change in the funding source. I will move the resolution and, for the approval of the Nuffield contract for Pay on Street.
Second, second, any further discussion?
Thank you for the discussion.
Thank you for the answer.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Approval of contract with Tectron for architectural and engineering services for Payne Street School Building Committee project.
So approval of the contract with Tectron.
Second. Move second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I would like to just reiterate, that Karen apologized for not being here and did say that she did lend her support to both items moving forward.
Resolution awarding annual support funds to the West Warwick Assistance Agency.
Move the resolution.
Second. Move second, any discussion?
This is an annual, we actually didn't do it. We always used to do it in the Thanksgiving timeframe, and I'm not sure why that didn't happen this year. That's probably my fault. Maybe I didn't reach out to them, but we wanted to certainly get it into this budget year. And it was provided for in the budget, so.
And also the former president, I don't say that,
Yeah,
chairperson of that board, he has passed, the new members have taken over, and he used to be faithful in sending that letter. in early
Delia
October.
Sylvester has also passed, and she actually was the one, was a Ward 1 resident, and she would contact me every year, so we have it on our list, we'll make sure that we do it. But it's obviously a worthy cause, they did let us know that they've served many more people, and they're feeding a lot of people here in West Warwick, so.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution rejecting any interest in the Kent County Water Authority's Main Street facility and property.
Move the resolution. Did we do this?
Deja vu all over again. The first purchase and sales agreement with the prior prospective buyer fell through, and they dropped the price from $750,000 to $650,000, and now they have a new prospective buyer. That's why they needed the
So
second.
we have to do it, so even though we say we don't care, we have to do it each time.
Every time it lowers.
Yeah.
Basically, we jump on that.
Yeah.
Well, pretty soon if it starts lowering, you might think about grabbing it. But yes, you need it because it's a new purchase and sales.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Update on Janet Drive, U.S. Department of Agriculture Land Acquisition Project.
So they were gonna have a big meeting with headquarters. Tell me what happened.
So they had their big meeting with headquarters.
Sounds like a get smart thing, but yes.
So essentially, their most recent activity centered around a need to draft an MOU that would lay out everybody's responsibility and the time frame. They had met last Tuesday, and they informed Tim and I on Wednesday that
that they determined that an MOU is not required. And they can get what they need with a cooperative agreement. I don't understand the difference.
So we need a
You
list
call
of
it-
to-dos. That's
So
what we need.
they met yesterday morning internally to get their drafts together of that cooperative agreement. And they initially asked if Tim and I would be available tomorrow to review it, but neither of us are gonna be available in the time frame that they require. So I'll work tomorrow on getting one scheduled with them. But I would imagine that that would be a pretty easy turnaround cooperative agreement to bring back to you folks.
I would assume that stepping on the manager's toes, that even counting the weekend and the holiday, if they can get it to us, we could probably get it to you within 5 days. And then if there needs to be a special meeting, instead of waiting into the July meeting, or you can just provide the authority right now to the manager and to the solicitor to go forward. Because again, this change of no longer having the MOU, the basics of the outline that I sent you last week are still in play. So I mean, I think we're trying to move as quickly as possible, so.
I mean, I don't think we have to meet. I think we can authorize you two to move forward. If you guys have an issue with that, it's
I
your
mean,
ward.
No, well, and we've talked about it. My concern is that it gets stalled. I just don't want to see it get stalled. I don't want to see funding dry up. I know they say they have funding and they're sure that it's there, but they still have to do appraisals. There's still work that has to be done.
And like I said before, they've agreed with the agreement, when they send the draft, to have a timetable that we can share with you and those affected residents. So they have a grasp on the anticipated time in order to get those appraisals and agreements and lined up.
So do we expect that this timeline or to-do list, which is really what it is, will have deadlines associated with it?
They're gonna be flexible only because I think the appraisals might happen a lot quicker and the title stuff might happen a lot quicker, but the third part might have a little bit more to it. But I don't wanna promise 90 days if it's gonna take 100, but I mean, it's moving forward as quickly as possible. Like I said, I was kind of shocked that after all this work about this MOU, now they've made a bit of a change of heart. So I think it's.
So when you say they, who's they? Just so-
The U.S. Department of Agriculture
Federal
is
government, it's-
is the agency that spearheads this particular program.
And they've been in contact with you, they've been in contact with the residents that we have here also. We just want to keep it moving, and there's some, I know there was some opinion that we were holding it up as a town. I want to make it clear that that is not the case. And now that we can get, so I would make a motion that we authorize the town manager and the town solicitor to wrap up these discussions and get a game plan in place and make this happen as soon as possible.
So again, we're gonna move the federal government, and if they respond, great, but we do want to get a timetable. We do want to schedule it so it can be shared with the property owners.
And I get that, but we also don't want to throw silly tasks at them as far as to bog the whole process down.
When we had the telephone conference with them, they weren't too clear about, if the appraisals might take, we're trying to get them more, narrowly tailor the timeframe. And I think once, I don't know if they're gonna use a group of appraisals, or maybe just one, but I think again, those two stages are gonna happen quickly.
Okay.
Third one would be.
And what's the third one you're talking about, Tim?
The environmental records.
Environmental records.
So the first is the third party appraisers,
Yeah.
appraisal, excuse me. Second is the federal.
That should be fairly easy.
Right,
Yes.
environmental records, again, determining how far back they're going to go,
So
what they're looking at.
is that something that they're gonna do, or they're gonna ask
Oh,
us?
they're gonna do.
So maybe,
Right, but again, the environmental part is kind of,
I mean, they could be doing that now.
right, but I don't know if they're.
I believe they are.
What we have,
Okay.
our town hall records,
Fair enough.
look at EM, any EPA stuff, anything that happened with the waterfall 40 years ago, I don't know how far back to them. But like I said, they're the ones that initiated the project, so I think they know what they're doing. If we can stay on them, I mean, the MOU moves from going nowhere 3 weeks ago to now it's finally, format that it's gonna get here, like I said, probably next 5 days. So there's no, I mean, there's really no need for them to hang on to it. They drafted it, You just have to approve it, or tweak it, which again, I don't think there's really a lot of tweaking unless they say, it's going to take us 4 years to do.
So I will amend my motion to say that you officially keep on them. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So we don't even have to have a special meeting, we continue moving.
Forward. Yes.
Thank you.
Upcoming appointments, sewer use board review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer use board review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. Tax assessment board review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School building committee, recreation committee, Patuxent River Authority, appointment to fill a vacancy for an unexpired term ending June 2026. This next Patuxent River Authority was filled this evening. Planning board, appointment or reappointment for 5-year term. And zoning board, appointment or reappointment for 5-year term was filled this evening. Upcoming town council meetings. July 8th, 2025, regular town council meeting, August 12th, 2025, regular town council meeting, September 2nd, 2025, regular town council meeting, and September 16th, 2025, regular town council meeting. Public forum.
And just for the record, before our next meeting, St. Anthony's Feast will be the weekend of June 26th. So give you a heads up. Public comment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Town Hall 6 Colonial Way. Thank you. I'm not sure if this is even the right, and I'm Bert Mollahan. I've missed a couple of meetings with my health, but I'm back. How's Bert? Is he okay?
I really can't.
Okay, got it. Praise the Bert. I have a question that's been asked of me. Is anyone familiar with the Greenwich Glen condo project, which would be in Ward 5?
I have very high level knowledge of it, but not like a high level view of it.
Okay.
What's your question with it?
The question is, from what I understand, is one way in and one way out,
Yes.
and it's gonna
And
go.
Mr. President, before you go any further, Tommy, I know you want to ask questions. I would think that it's more appropriate to be in front of planning on this particular issue. The town council, it's not on their agenda tonight. You can certainly ask Councilman Dennison off the record about what he knows, but
Okay, perfect.
it's not
But it's the planning,
planning yet.
planning,
It's
okay.
not,
And that's
it's not,
not the new
You can actually
lady.
see Maryland.
right.
Maryland,
And one thing I feel I can tell you is that it is going in front of the East Greenwich Planning Board tomorrow.
Yes.
That's all. I
And
know.
the reason I mention it is what's been pointed out, just to inform you, I'm not looking for any answers. But, do you remember about 20 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, when they built?
20 or 60
I-
years ago.
That's a lot of years, Tom.
Yeah.
Thanks.
well,
We pointed at
yeah.
60s.
That's what he's asking.
What's the name of, Crossbow Lane and Maid Marian and that whole
Nottingham Estates.
Beg your pardon?
Nottingham Estates.
Correct. No, Nicole, I think you guys used to live there. Didn't you live there?
Can't go there.
Yeah, Legend Way, West Warwick, when they built that, they ran Legend Way out onto Crompton Road. And East Greenwich had a stroke and said, no, and they put a big gate across it. You're not coming out into East Greenwich on Crompton Road. They did the same thing when they were gonna put that burn center, the medical waste business. They said, no. you're
Greenwich
not."
doesn't like us.
Well, no, you think of the traffic that's going out, and they were part of the group of people that really stood ground and had that medical waste turned away. They didn't want, 10 trailer trucks a day coming in and 10 trailer trucks a day of hazardous waste going in and out. And they said, no, you're not coming out into East Greenwich. You also have one coming up behind you. There's, where the daycare center is on Division. across from the golf course, then you have the pond. And then there's a dilapidated house that's been there for 100 years. They want to open up a warehousing facility in there. And the only way to get in there is off 95, over the rocks and in, or onto Division Road in East Greenwich. And I know they're gonna put a squawk on that. But that point with that one way in and one way out on that Greenwich condo, whatever, Greenwich Glen, that's gonna go through private property. And, person that owns that property, you know, they just found out about this. They recently purchased that property about 3 or 4 years ago. And, so it looks like there's gonna be another kickback from East Greenwich, because that would be coming to get out of West Warwick on this project. You would have to go through East Greenwich to private property on Crompton Road. So that's coming up to bite. But I appreciate the information that's gonna be planning, and I can't read it when I wrote. And Maryland,
Our planner.
right, I can't remember that. All right, that's all I needed, and thank you very much, but I'll be in touch, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Keep it down.
I don't know.
On Couture, 6 Ottawa Street, I'd like to ask the DPW director a question in regards to the brush not being cut all year and why it's not being done.
Again, Mr. Chair, President, I will just suggest that if this gentleman wants to speak to the DPW director, he can, but the council's really not in a position to answer questions.
Okay, my other question is,
It's not on the agenda.
Ron, I just want to point out, you are a West Warwick employee.
yep,
You are a member of that department.
yep,
So that's probably a matter you need to talk about.
It's
Either
been addressed.
HR or the director.
at least 6 times it's been addressed. The other question I have is, does the town of West Warwick support nepotism?
Please don't respond to that. That's not properly before this council.
Well, the question is, if my son worked at DPW, could I be his boss?
I'm not gonna answer that question, sir.
Not gonna answer.
Nope.
What's the Rhode Island general law say? You're an
I'm not,
attorney.
I'm not gonna answer that question either. We can do this all in. It's not properly before the town council. It's not on the agenda. And I'm not
I'm
gonna,
a taxpayer for brush being cut,
you're a taxpayer. You made your
and I
point.
wanna know when it's gonna be cut.
Why don't you just talk to the DPW
I
director?
asked him to come up and explain it to me.
Excuse me?
I asked him to come up and explain it to me.
Why don't you just ask him privately? He can explain it to you.
I've done that. That's why I gotta bring it here.
So this is public comment. You can say what you want, but I'm going to instruct my clients not to respond.
This place is going backwards down there instead of forwards. You know, we had an evaluation about 6 years ago, how to fix the problems down there. I don't know how much we spent on that, but let me tell you, I think it was 35 grand, maybe more. It was a waste of time. You know?
Thank you, Ron. Any other public comment? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. You have a good night. And have a good 4th of July.